All right. I hope you all had a good lunch. Yeah? Good afternoon, Madrid. Buenas tardes. Okay, I see you are still getting through your lunch, right? All right, this next panel, it's a two-person panel, and it's about scaling talent for growth. As you know, it's very difficult for companies to grow. And one of the big, questions is, how can you scale your talent? Well, if there's anybody that knows about that, it's these two next gentlemen. We've got with us Bernardo Hernandez. Bernardo was at Google for 7 years. He was a big guru at Google in the product area. And we're very happy that he's now back in Spain. He was in San Francisco for 7 years. Now he's part of eVentures here in Spain. So if anybody knows about talent, it's Bernardo. And our another guest is Arsenio Otero, who is the COO of Salesforce.com for EMEA. Bernardo is going to be moderating and asking questions to Arsenio. And I hope that with that, you guys get a really good feeling for what talent scaling for growth is all about. So ladies and gentlemen, join me in welcoming Bernardo and Arsenio.
Good afternoon, everyone, and hello, Arsenio. Why don't we start with telling people, who you are, where you come from, what you're doing right now at Salesforce.
Hey, good afternoon. First of all, thank you, Bernardo. So I joined Salesforce 7 years ago. At that time, it was a real startup, at least in Europe. And now I am today the COO of Salesforce in Europe. COO is that word that, unless you are in an Anglo-Saxon world, is very difficult to translate, no? So I used to say that I am the responsible of sales operations. Sales, because I have all the inside sales and telesales teams as my responsibility, and operation is the strategy, the go-to-market, the enablement, the talent piece, no? Before that, I was in the industry for another 5 years, and I was a management consultant. Engineer, MBA from MIT, and my family live in Madrid. I have 2 daughters, 10 and 7 years old, which I really love to spend time with them.
That alone is a full-time job sometimes.
Oh.
Scaling is a good problem to have. If your problem is scaling, it's because you've done well. So it's a good problem to have. But normally it's understated because it's super complicated. Peter Thiel has an incredible book that probably many of you have read, but I recommend to all of you, From 0 to 1, which is incredibly hard to start a business and to go from nothing to something. But then when you have something and you have a business model that is proven, 25, 50 people, and you need to start growing, what do you think what are the challenges at that point? Like, do you need the same people? Do you need the same resources? Do you need to readjust strategy? Is it scaling? There are so many questions at the same time, but is it scaling the same thing going from 1 to 10, then 10 to 100? What are your first thoughts?
I think that the challenge is dual here, because you need to change many things. And I will say 3 main things you need to change. You need to change your go-to-market, and I think this is more than change that evolve. You need to change your way to look into talent and to approach into talent, and you need to evolve your relationship with the customers. But at the same time, it's not just changing. You need to keep your culture. The culture that has helped you to go from a stage to be successful at stage 0 is very important. You need to keep the innovation, the speed, the fun culture, and that is very important. But keep in mind that without changing the go-to-market, changing the talent piece of the company, and changing the customer relationship, I think it will be a challenge.
Let's try to get specific. When I joined Google, I think Google was like 2,800 people and 50 people in Europe. And when I left, it was like 75,000 people. So I saw scaling Google a lot, and I remember the organization struggling because what it was good to the point that we were successful to have 3,000 people around the world was not at all right from taking the company from 3,000 to 75,000. But getting specific, before we talk about talent, let's talk. You said sales and marketing. Your marketing approach, your go-to-market has to be very different. The marketing people at the beginning has to be scrappy. They need to do really cool marketing, guerrilla marketing with no marketing budgets.
Exactly.
And then all of a sudden you need to transition to more media buy, account management. In your experience at Salesforce and before, specifically with sales or marketing, once you have a product that you know is selling, what do you need to do to scale the sales and marketing organization?
Now, for me, I did a very similar journey. Joining Salesforce 7 years ago, I was less than 600 employees in Europe, and at that time we were doing 400 million, and today we are 6,000 and we are doing 2.7 billion, so it's a different company. But go-to-market or sales piece, the first thing that we need to do is move it from being just one segment to being multi-segment. At that time, our core of the business was the small and medium companies, and we need to evolve into more mid-market and more large market. Today, we are doing 70% of our revenue in the large market, but we keep having 1/3 of our customers in each of the segments. So it's not just moving away, it's adding more segments into the go-to-market. And also at that time, we were just a CRM. And a CRM, horizontal view of the market with one product. And today it's the same solution, much more evolved, but we have an industry speech. At the end, it's something that we recognize is that we need to talk the language of the customer. And the customer of financial services or the customer that is in hospitality has different needs, different pains. And yes, both then need to manage the customer, but they need to approach differently. So for me, in the sales piece, from one segment to multi-segment, I'm thinking from horizontal to more industry. It's a journey. It's not something that you switch off the lights and it's done. It's a journey, but it's a journey that you need to know the destination point. And on marketing, you say, from guerrilla marketing, so going to the events of our competitors and being on the street in the event of our competitor with banners, with flyers, and so on, to doing the last event that we did here in Madrid with more than 6,000 people. So this is the journey. And that is a small journey that you need to move it from this small guerrilla, small tactics, to really being more account-based, customer-oriented.
Let's talk about processes, because at the beginning, you have to be really agile, plastic, adjusting to whatever new opportunity you have. But when you grow, your first work experience was at McKinsey. You start, you need those processes in place to have a plan, to have a budget, to measure what you manage, and all those things. What is the advice when a company like 25 people, 40 people wants to go big, but not only they need to change the strategy, but also they need to implement new processes?
I will tell you, for example, when I am interviewing people and I am having that conversation, I told them, we are a big startup, because we don't have yet the process of a large corporation that you feel that you need it. But also it gives you the freedom to keep doing many things if you are able to do it. No? I think that you will need a minimum level of processes that allow you to scale. So you cannot continue doing invoice just by one, each of them, and then figure it out if you have collect or not. So you need minimum process for managing your back office, but also you will need process to start managing your customers. Because part of that journey is moving from X thousand of customers or X hundred of customers to thousands of customers. And that, it needs to evolve your relationship. You will need also systems that allow you to manage that relationship with the customer in a different way. Because if you go multi-segment, it will not be the same that a big customer will expect it, and the teams will have a different approach. But the process change, I think, is a journey also. You cannot go from a startup and have tomorrow the process of a large, mature corporations. It has no sense, and it will frame and limit your ability. But you need to keep in mind that there's something that if you don't have it there, it becomes an obstacle for growth, like billing, like payroll, like customer relationship management.
But what are the specific advice that you would give people? Do you do it yourself? Do you go through the learning curve of acquiring the skills, or do you hire McKinsey or a consultant? Do you outsource it to some of the cloud services and SAR services that like you can
I think
buy
that this
online?
is where the talent piece play a key role, no? Because for that journey, I always have the feeling that you will need different skills. So the people that has done the first journey, it's not that they are not the one that will do the second part of the journey. It's that the one that has done the first journey, they need with them some people that knows the destination point. And that, if you know the final point of what is the product or what is the process that you want to have it, then it's easier to say, hey guys, let's use this, let's do this, let's build that. If not, you will keep imagining all the time. So for me, first thing, you need to bring a mix of talent, and in that mix of talent, you need to bring new skills and people that knows the destination point because they have been there. So you need to start hiring and targeting that people that will know the process of that mature company that moved you from 10 million to 100 plus, and they will know that processes, and they will help you with the journey. My advice here is more bring the talent, work with the talent inside the company, that then go external. Many of you will have boards. Your board member has that experience, and they can give you that sense.
That advice. Okay, let's talk about talent then. So if it's about bringing the talent, what are the skills that you need to look for? Like when you're a startup, you need to be scrappy, and hiring good people sometimes is challenging because the profile risk. But scaling, it's about getting more professional in the hiring, defining the job descriptions better, having a pipeline, having recruiters. What are some of the advices? I remember when out of the top management at Google, when I joined, there was like 50 people in Europe. Only one person is left, and everyone else has gone either because they got tired, because they didn't have the skills to take the company where it had to go. No, so
not bad retirement, no?
Not a bad retirement at all for most of them. But I could see how that mismatch on the skills was actually so evident. So what kind of skills do you need to look for? What is the profile of the people that is going to help you define that journey clearly to scale?
We have a very similar story in Salesforce, not 1 out of 15. We are a leadership team in Europe of 12, and I was just counting, and 1/3 of them are people that has more than 10 years tenure in the company. Salesforce is a company of 19 years, just to give you an idea, so it's really a young company. And I think that both of them has the combination that the old-timers will be the guardians of the culture. But then you need to bring that new skills into the equation. And that new skills, it depends on the role. So if you think on sales, you need people that are result-oriented, that are analytical, and that clearly they are people that has all the customer and sales processes experience. But if you will need marketing, then it's moving from an account-based marketing or an event or a media or a digital type marketing that knows the experience, that knows that market. So it's a combination of the skills of knowing the market and having that with keeping the balance of the culture. Many of the skills are already there, but we need to also recognize that they are the skills for the next stage of your journey. You will have another stage later and later.
What about some of those buzzwords like OKRs, performance management, and all those things? Do you think they're effective? A lot of people say that as important as it is to bring good talent, it is to actually get rid of the low performers so you can actually fly lighter. What about managing the existing talent that you have in the organization and replacing the skills?
For me, one thing that when you think on talent, one piece that is super important is first, you are going to growth. And when you are going to growth, you need to hire now for tomorrow. So one thing that easily to grow sales is adding capacity at this stage. And capacity is adding more sales reps. And if you know that you are going to finish with 10 sales reps, maybe you need to hire today 5. It's a bet, but you need to hire today for tomorrow. And this is a reality. And the risk of that is that you lower the bar. That, oh yeah, it's good, maybe not a good fit for the culture, but wow, he knows so many people. No. You need to keep the bar at the level that it is. This is super important. But it's even more important now that you need to generate a flow of talent. Because you need people to get progressed inside the company. And think on the sales role. There is a typical role in many of the startups that they are just doing cold calling. Cold calling to set a meeting for the account executive to go there and visit them. You need to have this pool of people that will become account executive in 1 or 2 years and get ready. Because many times you will need to create your own talent, to generate that flow of talent. And for that, more than performance management, is the coaching, is the enablement, what you will need, the training, the on-the-job training. And of course, performance management will happen naturally, but my sense is that it will be more hiding mistakes than any other things. If you do a proper system of coaching, development people, and having them. And the coaching is something that if you find the right talent, they will do it naturally, because they will come with that skills already. And if you are in sales, you know that you need to coach your sales guys to be able to do the job, and not you doing their job for them.
Let's talk about the hiring for a minute. When I first joined Google, we went from being super exclusive and really picky, and you could only hire from the top schools, and you need a GPA of more than 4.5, and I had to
Diversity.
Yes, and I had to gather all my transcripts from my entire life. And when I left Google, none of that mattered, and we went to the other side of the spectrum where it was just the job interviews and the reviews of the team members that would matter the most. And so what has been that journey at Salesforce? What's your advice? What do you have to look for to hire right?
I think that the first thing that you need to do to hire right is to take this as this is one of the most core and important process of the company. So first, you want to work with people that you set the value. So make sure that that interview is not done by 1 or 2, that they see a good broad of people in the company. And always keep in mind that the interviews are bi-directional, that you are assessing the candidate, but the candidate is assessing if they want to work with you. And then always my advice is let's go very clear on their piece, on their not just getting on their career, examples, very fact-based, what you have done, what you have not done. Give it time for the candidate to make any possible question, and then go specific in details, because in the details will give you a sense if there is a cultural fit or not, if your company is a data detail-oriented. Salesforce is a data company-driven. So we always have some conversation about numbers and so on, because it's how we manage. But if the company is not data-driven, you will have your own clicks to find the candidate. But my advice here is never lower the bar, and make sure that many people see the person, looking the cultural fit, because the cultural fit sometimes is very important. It's not just if he is super bright, that hopefully he or she is super bright, and that has a lot of experience, but if there is no cultural fit, it will be very, very difficult.
Right. What is the best thing to retain talent? Is it money, stock options?
Culture.
Culture.
For me, there is no doubt. Of course, this is a job, so we get paid because it's a job. If not, they will call it hobby. That is a reality. But at the end, what you stay or not in a company is because you're having a good time, you are enjoying the journey, you are learning, your manager is helping you, and so on. So I think that if the culture allows you to have all that pieces, money will clearly not be the driver for anyone leaving a company. That is my sense.
It has to be there, but it's not the main.
Oh, exactly.
So we'll have time for one more question. What is the ugly about scaling? What is the ugly? What is the thing to watch out for? Is it the culture getting diluted? It's getting too corporate, that corporate magma that creates sclerosis sometimes and stops the speed. What is the ugly?
I agree. I think that there are many mistakes. The culture getting diluted, bringing so many people from outside and then all from the same company and bring with a different culture, or just creating like an ivory tower corporate center or whatever. But for me, the ugly piece is not being aware that as the speed is going to be higher, because if you think that the speed of stage 1 was higher, stage 2 it will be even more higher. Because then you have the goal, you have the ambition, that you left people behind. This is for me the most ugly piece, don't being aware that people can be left behind and not try to bring them with you. You should try to bring them, if not possible, then you manage, but then people for me matters a lot.
Okay, so thank you. I hope you guys learn a little bit more about scaling, and remember, scaling is a good problem to have. Thank you, everyone.
Thank you.